go. So I wanted to introduce Becca Cotto, Director of Racial and Social Justice and Advocacy here at the YWCA in Delaware. And we're looking forward to her conversation, not only about advocacy for programs around racial justice, but also a number of initiatives. So we look forward to having you speak to us this evening. And again, I just appreciate you all coming, and look forward to hearing back after I step away, unfortunately, for a family issue. But again, Becca, we'll turn it over to you, and thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you all for having me. I just want to check, Craig and Maria, are you able to hear us? I'm thinking not. Okay. I can't quite help them. I'd probably have to be there in person. So again, thank you for having me. How many of you have been with this group for 5 years? Give me a hand raise. Okay, so 5 years ago, about this time, I came to meet you all at, I believe, Sue's house, and we had some wine and cheese, if you were there. And I was very, very new at my job. Interestingly enough, I know so much more now. So have any of you never met me before, been on a Zoom with me? All of you are very, very familiar to me. So yeah, okay, great. So as Mike said, I am the Director of Racial and Social Justice and Advocacy for YWCA Delaware. How many of you know what we do? Not just me, but what YW does in Delaware? Kind of. Okay, so I'm going to take some time tonight, and I hope that's okay, because I know many of you are familiar with our programming, but racial and social justice is baked into all of our programming. So I really would kind of like to share that with you. I'm going to show a video. It's about 7 minutes, sorry, but it's from our breakfast that we just had. We have an annual breakfast. I'm going to show you that video, and then just briefly go over like some of our other departments, we call them departments, other sections of YW, and kind of tell you what they do. And then we'll talk about our new advocacy initiative. So anytime, if you guys can't hear, let me actually maximize my I was trying to maximize my share screen. Okay, well, if for some reason you guys can't hear it, what I'm playing, please put something in the chat, because sometimes when you share, I can no longer see you. So let me go pull up what I would like to pull up first. Zoom.
Running a nursery school actually for a small church. Many of the women who were bringing their children in were having challenges around family violence and domestic violence. And I went to the pastor and I said, you know, is there a way that we could meet some of their needs? And he said, well, I don't know about that. That's a pretty uncomfortable conversation. I'm a survivor. I was in her position at one time. And I had no one. I had to navigate the system by myself, and that is no place to be when you just experience such a trauma.
I am a single mom. I have one son, 18. I've never thought I would be in this situation. I had a really good job. I was there 18 years. Thought I was going to retire.
When I grew up, I always wanted to be the person that I needed. I missed a lot of opportunities just about different careers that I could have explored as an adult.
I've always been a student of American history, and I started my postgraduate studies looking at the causes of the Civil War. And it turns out that some of the history I was taught was incomplete. The more I learned, the more I realized that race and racial injustice were a part and fiber of the history of our country.
I started having problems with my vision and found out that I had to have cornea transplants on both eyes. I just had a cornea transplant on my left eye, and I had to have my right eye done. In the midst of me going through all that, Unfortunately, my landlord went through his situation, and he had to start selling his properties. So the house that I thought I was gonna own was no longer option, and unfortunately, he had to sell. And I wasn't prepared financially to find another place. I came in on a walker. I just got out the hospital. I was in a dark place. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I'm on the phone with Josiah for the housing. Ms. Worcester is my case manager. We get on Zoom calls, so we all on a call together, trying to make sure I obtain the goals that I need to reach. When you're with your case manager, you have action plans, and they expect you to do those action plans at your next appointment with them. My ultimate goal is to own a home. I know when I leave here, it doesn't just stop when I leave the door. I know they're gonna follow up. I know if I need help, I know I can call them and they will give me the resources or put me on the right path.
Through our initial phone conversations, Nicole had advised me that she was indeed homeless and living at the YWCA along with her son. She did tell me, that she was working with the counselors there, trying to get her on track in hopes of purchasing her first home. Having experienced homelessness during my childhood, I definitely know what it feels like to be homeless and feel helpless. I knew that we really had to get on this. I immediately started researching, sending Nicole properties that were available in her price range and her budget so that we could go ahead and start the process of helping her find her home. There's a misconception that you cannot get a house unless your credit is top notch or if you have thousands of dollars in the bank. That is a complete misconception. You can go ahead and start doing money management, budgeting, strategically planning what needs to be done to help you achieve your goal of owning a home. There are so many programs that will help you with the down payment, with your closing costs, with the first month's mortgage payments.
Thank you.
The youth are our future. They're our future politicians, our future leaders, our future decision makers. We need to take care of their feelings and emotions so that they know that they can do anything.
Just because I'm young doesn't mean that I can't push for change.
I know more about the kind of leader I want to be in the future going through this program.
I definitely think it's important for us to be able to speak with the legislators and share our opinions because we are the community.
The prevention work that we do in the schools and the tablings that we do out in the communities to talk about healthy relationships and talk about consent, talk about red flags in an unhealthy relationship, all of those things, teaching people out in the community, that does inspire change.
The fact that young people turned out to vote in the 2022 election, that gives a ton of hope that we can move forward with efforts to create a country place where everybody can thrive.
It's not easy work. We provide services to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and human trafficking. I go to the police stations, the hospital, to court. We provide hotline assistance to victims that call in and need resources and support after they've experienced trauma.
That first half year, we served about 200 women and men with 2 full-time staff and about half a dozen volunteers. And slowly it just built up until right before COVID, we were serving about 3,800 individuals a year statewide. And then COVID increased our capacity even more. We added a couple more positions right before COVID. And suddenly I was reporting on grant numbers and realized that we had passed over serving 15,000. I knew we would get there. I knew that's why we were here. A lot. It is a lot.
And our fight against hate and bias is really a never-ending struggle. Self-awareness of awakening, and when it seems like things are getting better, it's time to work harder.
The world is not over. You just going through a rough time. You're going to get better.
It takes all of us to link together to inspire hope and encourage change.
We just do it. That's what we do. That's who we are.
So did you guys know we did all that? No. See, most of you guys know what I do. So I thought I would share a little bit about that. And, you know, we have amazing programs and amazing people that work at our organization. And so I'm going to just do a brief PowerPoint and then take questions, and then we'll talk about advocacy. Again, this is brief, and it's kind of just a summary of what we just did, but I just wanted to make sure I hit it all. Wait, let me pull that up. I have to arrow out of here. Escape again. Back to you guys. There we go. Media. Where did it go? No. There we go. So yeah, I think you guys saw in the video, we have a home life shelter. It is located at 8th and Madison. We are one of the few in the state that only take families. So most people don't know that. The unfortunate thing about the way the system is set up is a family can't directly call us. They have to go through our Housing Alliance of Delaware, and they handle anyone with a request about homelessness. So we have, I want to say 25 rooms that are basically set up for 90 days for individuals to come through. And then we have 10 units where people can stay up to 2 years. And they pay rent during that time. And it's really just kind of a support to get them, you know, if they have really bad credit, or get them kind of to be able to work out, get some job experience, maybe job training. But we do have a lot of success stories about home ownership. I think I have to, yeah. So, you know, our community housing program, the great thing, and I think you saw that, is that we do wraparound services. So we also do rapid rehousing, which is our, you know, immediate housing, a diversion. We actually are partners with the state, and we do it until their money runs out. Where individuals might not be able to pay their electric bill or their rent one month, and they're just in a really tough spot. And so diversion funding is something that comes in, and we can help them so they don't need to be evicted, because once they're evicted, the process is so much more difficult. And you know that, you know, we work with DHAP with that. And then we also have our safe haven there at Home Life as well. Oh, went the wrong way. Then home ownership. We have our first time home buyer seminar, intro to home ownership, online home buyer education, and then foreclosure prevention. So I will say that my daughter went through the first time home buyer seminar, and she is a homeowner. She is 28 years old, very proud that she's a millennial with a house, because it's not easy these days. And this is just a little bit of history. Wait, that one, I meant to take that one out. Okay, so then I'm going to talk briefly about our youth development program. So the couple of kids you saw in the video are part of our YW Leaders program. And I'm very proud of this program because I created it during COVID. And it basically is to develop high school students to be leaders in racial and social justice. And it's a 10-week program that they participate in. And it includes all different kinds of things, teaching them how to have cross-cultural conversations, how to become civically engaged. And throughout COVID, we had legislators come and visit with them to tell them what kind of influence they can have. And this past year was very exciting. We got to actually have our first trip to Legislative Hall, which I think you saw some pictures there. And actually, if you look down here at this one, I don't know if you guys can see you guys or not, I don't know. This one right here is all of us for that trip. And it was just really a great experience. And the kids were just wowed with the legislators just being so open and just accessible for them. It was really cool. And then we have our WAN programming, which is Women Achieving New Directions, but obviously we don't exclude anyone. So sometimes men take advantage of those programs, which is great. We have our digital training. We have career certifications that Google actually pays for, so individuals can take those for free. And we have our workability hybrid camp, and then our Mind Your Business series, which is really an entrepreneurship program to get people to give them the support to get started if they'd like to have their own business. And then this one, I think you guys know, but our mission statement is for racial and social justice, to help individuals develop the awareness, willingness, and tools necessary to drive change within the institutions that we all share. So we have our transformational racial healing circles, our book study groups, our action forums, our On the Menu, which is our DE&I programs, and we do microaggression, cultural competency, unconscious bias, and they're 60 to 90 minute, and they're really designed for small nonprofits or boards, individuals who can't pay $3,000 for that work. They were developed internally for us, and then people kept asking us, "Do you have anything like this?" So we decided we would, share that with the community. And then we have our racial justice challenge, and then we have our educational forums and workshops. We are actually 128 years we've been in Delaware. Most people don't know that, and some people still call us the YMCA. I'm just teasing Mike for that. We get it all the time. So, this is just a little bit of our history. We were established, we occupied the 908 King Street from 1903 to 1916. We had the White Collar Girl Department of Business and Professional Women to discuss personal philosophy, obviously white collar workers, and women's contribution to the war effort. Because, during that time, women were actually encouraged to enter the workforce until the men came home. And then our Sexual Assault Response Center was established in 2015. And you heard Elizabeth mention that we've served over 15,000. And we know that that's not the majority of people who experience sexual or domestic violence. Often those go unreported. So it's a really sad number, but I'm proud to be part of an organization that really does help people get through some really serious times. Oops. This is very sensitive. It's Canva and not PowerPoint. So, oh, look at that. Yes, we did partner for Stand Against Racism in 2020 to establish racism as a public health crisis, which is something that on the national level, a lot of our YWs are doing. And then obviously 2020 COVID hit, and we did hybrid programming, which was super, we, at least in racial and social justice way, we were just able to turn right over and instantaneously. I talked to my facilitators. I said, "Give me a book." At this point, we were in the middle of our conversations and meeting. And so we had to stop that, and everybody just jumped on board. And we had probably 10 book studies going because I didn't want to leave people in the lurch. Everybody wanted to connect. So, yeah, so just this is our care model, and I think the video kind of showed that our team ensures participants have low barrier access to a range of our services, right? So we help addressing their clients. We'd like to meet people where they are, because we want to avert homelessness as much as we can, and we want to keep families together. It's really important. I'm preaching to the choir. So thank you for listening to that spiel. And do you guys have any questions about the organization itself? All right.
Chris, did you sort of put your hand up?
No, she was fixing her hat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Becca, I wanted to know how you connect with your homelessness shelter. You said that people needed to connect through Housing Alliance.
Yes, so there's only one number in Delaware. And I can get that for you. It's somewhere probably in my space, but there's only one number in Delaware. It's everyone, whether you get a voucher for a hotel, you come to our home life shelter, you have to go there. And I've actually had friends and legislators call me and say, can you get me in? And I'm like, no, I can't. I know I would love to be able to do that, but you know, everybody, we have one of the highest success rates in the state. And unfortunately, on a national level, they're decreasing funding for what we have, and they want people out in 30 days, right? They don't want people there. And you just can't get it together in 30 days. You know, most of America is one paycheck away from a catastrophe. So 30 days isn't enough, but you know, on a national level, that's what they want to see. They don't want people in shelters, although ours isn't a typical shelter because we have the social services and everything that wraps around them. So
Do organizations like Friendship House and Family Promise, do they access your system as well? I just want to see how broad it is.
sure, they actually would be I don't want to say competition. They do what we do. So Family Promise is able to use a lot of the churches, which is great. We just have our one site, and we are considering expanding that as well. We have been for 10 years now, so we'll see if that happens. And Friendship House is an amazing partner, and they do stuff in the space too. So kind of all of us work together. We all when I was talking about that, the funding that we all get some of that funding to be able to keep people from becoming homeless. So it's just what resource people know, how they know, is the way that you can access that.
Because it's access, it's all about access, and someone's in the street, especially as winter comes, or you know, and you want them to be able to pick up a phone and maybe get some immediate help.
Yeah. And you know, what's really unfortunate, so HAD's hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So God forbid you have an emergency on the weekend. Yep. You have no options. There's nothing out there. And, you know, we know that needs to change, but we continue to push for it, because it's really sad when someone, you know, especially the only people that get to actually override that are domestic violence victims, because they will call our SARC number, which is a 24-hour number. And those individuals have to be removed almost immediately, or already are removed and need to be put into a safe place. And it's not our shelter. It's places in Pennsylvania or New Jersey and vice versa. So it's people, you know, places where they can't necessarily be located immediately.
And anyone any female in the small business world, or entering or wishing to enter into the small business world, can access your wand? Yes.
And men can too. But, you know, our mission is eliminating racism and empowering women. So.
Okay, great. So all they have to do is go on your
website.
Site? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Roger.
The picture of you all down at Legislative Hall, what were you asking them to advocate for? What was there legislation? Was there funding, budget numbers? What were all the things that you were interfacing with the legislature?
So they were students, and they really weren't interfacing about anything in particular. They were there to learn about the job. They were there to learn about what the legislators did. We even had an aide talk to them. We had all, you know, legislators from what you would probably call underrepresented. We had several Black legislators as well as LGBTQ legislators. We did get a little bit of razz from some of the Republicans. So next year we'll have to invite them to have a conversation with the youth as well. That was not intentional. We just were going for a diverse group, and their diversity is not very high. So they were really just experiencing what it's like. And because sometimes kids don't know the power that they have. And I think, and I might say the bill number wrong, but the Black History Education Bill 198 or 189, I always reverse those two. That was actually brought to Representative Dorsey Walker from students. And she let them have say the whole way through on that bill as it was being written. So youth don't know the power that they have, because they may not be able to vote yet. But one, they're future voters, and two, they're great volunteers. If you're working on a campaign, they are young and they can move and they can knock a lot of doors and make a lot of phone calls for candidates. And there are future. So I agree with what Rob, who's one of our facilitators, said. It was great to see so many come out and vote. I think we're going to see even more this coming election next year. So
Good. The other question is, pandemic funding and pandemic money was for a lot of different things. And then earlier in this year, we saw, oh, that money's running out. And I didn't know how it affected your mission and the things that you have to do in terms, particularly of homelessness.
yeah, most definitely more, and a lot of that funding came from the federal level, right? And we were a lucky state, you know, we happened to be the president's from here, so we really kind of lucked out with that funding, and it really helped us. We had not one case, not one case of COVID during all of it, and people were living there. They were coming in and out, wearing masks, having gloves, clean the place all the time. So that was a real, and that took a lot of extra effort. We did lay off like very few employees, and we were able to keep employees on because of that funding. So that funding is running out. And, you know, we'll see, we'll go back to the drawing board. What's really going to hurt is the VAWA funding, which is the Violence Against Women Act. That's a national funding source, and that has already been cut from the budget. So not all of it. Let me rephrase that. Portion of it has been cut on the budget, and it wasn't enough to begin with. So that's something that YWUSA is advocating for, and our Senator Coons is a huge proponent for that, and he actually sits on that committee. But he's one person, but he knows how essential that is. So we're hoping when they get back to looking at the budget that might change, but we don't know.
Thank you.
Sure.
Becca, where do you stand on, there is a bill in the Delaware legislature to support renters who are being evicted, and to give them some, I think, legal support.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, these people don't have money for lawyers either. And the other thing is, what do you think about assistance to the whole college debt issue?
Okay, both great questions. So you can see our mission statement. I'm going to just talk a little bit. Our advocacy is eliminating racism, empowering women, and that's a huge umbrella, right? But we try to exist in those spaces. We have a new CEO or executive director, whatever you want to, Melissa Gonville, and she's amazing when it comes to advocacy. We were very limited with our previous CEO. She was very frightened to step into that space. However, Melissa has given me the freedom to activate volunteers and things, and that's what's coming this coming year. But we actually were there for the signing of the bill that actually passed, the renter, the right to counsel. And what's really interesting about that is that bill was up 2 sessions ago, and it didn't go through. And so some concessions were made, and it went through this year. And so sometimes that's the lesson that we have to learn is, you know, I get really frustrated, but I'm not in legislative hall, right? So like, I know that they have to make sacrifices, and they have a bill that can help 100,000 Delawareans. However, they can only get it passed to help 20,000 Delawareans. Do we scrap the bill or help those 20,000 and hope to build on it? And so it's an unfortunate compromise. And Lynn and I had a big conversation about that today, about sometimes, you know, we have to take what they can get through and then continue the fight. So right to counsel passed. I was excited to be there for that. We did public comment for that. We did public comment for several bills last year. The first one we ever did was under our previous CEO, and it was for the Black History education, which is kind of a no-brainer when you look at our mission. So we do a lot. We were there for housing lobbying day or advocacy day. We were down there among all our friends, all our other organizations like Friendship House. And what was really cool this year is we took actually employees from our home life shelter down to actually be able to advocate for that. And that's just a beautiful experience because those individuals see it every day. I do not. I work in a different building, but they see it and live it and love individuals through that process. So that's the first time we did anything like that. We're going to continue, especially in the housing space. I believe there's going to be, and I'm going to call it rent control, but that's not really what it is. They're going to introduce a bill that kind of only allows you to raise the rent like 5% every year, because in the last year it's raised 20%, and no one has gotten a raise for 20%, except hopefully maybe the car workers now. But just generally speaking, nobody's increases like that. So So I have been recently, let me real quick, I'll pop over to advocacy unless anybody has any questions about our actual, some of the other places, which our advocacy takes care of all of that too. Like we fight for our housing. We prioritize the things that really affect all of our other clients. Let's see. And this is a quick one, so then we can talk more about it when I get off of it. So, and I've covered some of this kind of, and we've already talked. So, like I said, you know, we're moving into the space of more, is that even, get that going for you guys? All right. We moved into the space of more, doing more work here. So we're going to be really advocacy is important. I don't think people understand how essential and easy it really is for people like you guys, people like all of our supporters everywhere in the state. So this, you do not have to read this, but this is just every year we put out advocacy positions. It's on our website, but I just wanted to show you a little bit of what we do it in every space. And actually when I'm done this, I will share the screen. So we have this under racial justice. We have gender-based violence. We have housing. You know, we have like 5 pillars, anything that really affects women and children. So that includes like funding for universal pre-K, right? Things like that are things that I sit on coalitions for. I sit probably on about 8 to 10 coalitions that do things from education to criminal justice reform, to probation reform, to voting rights. That's one thing that we're super, we prioritize this year. We're actually going to start doing some trainings because the League of Women Voters said they need some help setting up tables. They're the only ones that get requests. And so I'm going to meet with some of them and build up some of our supporters to be able to register voters and things like that. So if that's something you're interested in. So this is really just kind of an overview. And what we try to do is, you know, so we're going to have this, we're going to have an action forum in January. Very excited. So for Martin Luther King Day, which is a day of action, we're going to have an action forum. We've previously had these where we've had other organizations like the ACLU and Homes Campaign come in and talk about their issues because we weren't in this space. We weren't in the advocacy space. We were just in the programmatic space. But now that we are, you know, we're going to have our day of action and people come and learn about our positions, what advocacy is. We're going to help them find out who their legislators are and if they need to walk through to either make a Zoom appointment or meet them in person, have coffee with them. Most of them are willing to do that. Join our advocacy network. So we're going to have a sign up for text and email alerts. So if there is legislation or even public comment, because that's actually super important as well, public comment, we're going to ask people to take action. We're going to make it really easy. You're going to get a text. We'll have it go right to a website. You can send a letter to your legislator will get that. Or, you know, the phone numbers right now, right there if you want to do it. This is just a quote from Ibram Kendi. Just let you guys read that real quick so I don't have to read it to you. And then we will get added this. So, yeah, so the idea we have is really just to support all of our, and that's what advocacy comes down to, is really just support our mission. You know, some states have it worse than us. I mean, I'm grateful to be in Delaware compared to other YWs because we get to meet, we get to talk. We actually went down to our conference and there were women from Texas talking about the women there can't have abortions anymore, right? So they were talking about this and I raised my hand and I said, I just want you guys to know that Delaware is a safe haven state. And I said, and we have funding to help individuals. And if you guys don't know about First State Abortion Fund, you should, if you support that. Let me be clear. I'm not telling you have to, but if it's something you support, you know, we have a fund that can help women come here. We can help them travel. We can take care of them while they're here, take care of the medical expenses as well. So, but there are women all over this country that are part of this mission that have a much harder job than we do here in Delaware. And we're able to push the envelope further. So that's kind of exciting. You guys have any other questions?
Rebecca, I love all your criminal justice reform, totally there. But I'm also intrigued by your universal pre-K, which I also believe in. But it's a further issue. I really think that our public school systems are being held hostage, and our public school funding is being spread out to areas that I'm not sure it was meant to, which again puts our public schools in jeopardy. And for those students who I don't know, I really don't believe in all these special high schools,
The charter.
the charter schools. Again, you know, I just, is there somebody really looking at this issue? Because frankly, you'll have to excuse my language, but we're going to hell in a basket here.
Yeah. Is there someone really, so that's our formula, our funding formula is 82 years old. It is pre-desegregation.
Okay.
And there have been advocates that have been trying to change it. And there's powers on the other side that don't want to, because we do have this huge national kind of attack on public education. And Marie, it's interesting that you say that about charter schools. I have mixed feelings. So like, I look at schools like, and please no one take offense to this, but like Wilmington Charter and Newark Charter, those seem very exclusionary to me. But then I look at a school like Coomba Academy, where Black students can go and learn about their history, be taught by teachers that look like them, because we don't have that for students in our public school system. So those I support. You know, there's La Spear Academy. It's the same thing. Those students aren't being served in the public school system. And I often find people in this space, they struggle with, do I keep my kids in this system and sacrifice them to fight for change? Or do I make sure that they get the best education possible? And that's a hard decision to make. I will say go ahead.
Yeah, I want the best education for all children.
Yes.
But I think what's happening is that our public school students do not have the qualified teachers, do not have the equipment, the books, the infrastructure that they need. I don't see it. I don't see it. And that's the difference. I want all children to have first-class education.
Yeah. Yeah. And any initiative that, I mean, that is part of if you look at our advocacy issues, that we definitely cover equitable education, children being able to learn about their history, everyone's history. And we're not even talking, when you talk about Black history education, it's not just history, it's literature. I did not read a book by a Black author until I was 22 years old, which is complete insanity, right? I mean, and it's funny because people will say, oh, you know, some parents, oh, my kid doesn't need to learn about that. Well, why Black children have been learning about Jane Austen forever and a day, right? And that's so unrealistic in today's world. It's just kind of interesting how, you know, we don't share that. I agree with you, Maria. There's no easy solution to that. And we can't quite lead the initiative on anything. That's why we work in coalitions. So when there are coalitions working towards something, we're in it, but that's not something
I'd really love to see an educational, individual-based initiative for this, because they know it, they live it, they experience. And again, we're very fortunate in Delaware. Maybe we're not book burning yet. Maybe we're not. But, you know, I don't know. Curriculums are banned, books are banned, teachers are limited. I don't know. We're really destroying the infrastructure of education, period.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Yes, Sandy.
I will say that Delaware is the only state that has mandated, legislatively mandated the teaching of Black history. So we're just getting started on that. But I think at least we're going the right direction on that, and I'm very pleased about how we're doing it.
Yeah, the thing is, we can't actually set up a standard for that. Schools themselves, Delaware is because we have so many school districts, the school districts themselves set up their standards for Black history. There's no particular curriculum that they need to use. And so that becomes a little bit of a problem too, because, you know, schools probably like Cesar Rodney and Cape Henlopen are going to have the least amount that they can get away with to check the box, right? But then you've got other schools that are really going to dive into it and really ask people like BB Coker, who's been working on a curriculum. If you all don't know her, you should. And she's been working on this curriculum for like her whole life. And so it's whether we tap into those experts and get that information, or whether we take the minimal approach. And there's nothing that the Department of Education, there's no authority over that. So that's a little bit unfortunate because we have so many school districts. So
I wonder if the show me the money way, where we see that different schools receive different dollars per capita of child, and you see the differences. I really think there is. I just don't know enough about it. I wish somebody would really study where does our money come from and where does our money go, and on the basis of what decisions. I think, you know, the real black and white of the issues, I think would be good for someone to study, and then let that lead you to the advocacy that it reveals is necessary.
Yeah. There is a presentation that I attended, oh gosh, maybe 4 years ago now. And I can't tell you the guy's last name. He was a retired professor from University of Delaware. His first name is Dan, but he did a whole presentation about how our school system, okay, so I live in the house I grew up in. I can look out my window. One house over is my elementary school. And so I left my house, walked over to that school that was designed particularly for me. It was designed for suburban white middle-class families that had left the city. And now we have these schools in the suburbs. We have never changed that. So we're trying to take populations of students that don't fit that mold. And, you know, it's like putting a circle into a square. It doesn't work. We have not accommodated for the support that we need, the trauma support. Not everybody has someone that can read to them as a child. Some kids have their parents can't read. And as a community, you know, I agree with Maria, that's on us. I think that's our responsibility to pick that mantle up and make sure that it's getting done, that we can support the kids that are going through all of those things. So. Any other questions?
I had one question. When somebody calls the Housing Alliance, how do they decide where they're going to send them? Like, you have Hope Center, you have your facilities, you have Friendship House.
I can't really answer that because I don't know. There's not, you know, we've talked to them, and I believe that they now have gone through unconscious bias because, you know, even when you're on the phone with someone, right? Ideally, if they have a family, I don't believe Friendship House actually takes families. So Family Promise and YW are the only choices, or a hotel. So those are the three choices. So they go through, like, you know, what's available, what's the person's situation, you know, is it super temporary? Is it like my place is I'm renting a place and in 2 weeks I'll have a place, you know, that's a place to put someone in a, well, I hate the hotel motel model, but generally speaking, that's what we would do there. And that's a good question. I actually should spend some time with HAD and find that out. That's a good idea, Sandy. So I could answer that better for you.
Anybody else have thoughts or questions? Susan?
Sandy, this is a little bit off, but last night I went to see Kings of Harlem at Delaware Theater Company. So I would just like to throw that out there as something that might be of interest to the people who are on this call tonight.
No, that's okay. Someone put it on Facebook today, and I said, I didn't know that was happening. I'm going to go see that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think it's quite worthwhile.
I'm sure it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it is. Thank you for reminding me about that, because I'll have to look that up now.
Well, and another commercial is Brian Stevenson is going to be speaking November 30th at the Chase Center, I believe. And so that is coming up, and the reservations are no charge. So
yeah, someone was supposed to send me the link for that. Sandy, do you know how I can sign
I
up?
will send it to you.
You promise?
Yeah.
Yes, I do promise.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Chase Fieldhouse, not the Chase Center.
Oh, Chase Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that distinction. Yeah.
So how do we get the tickets?
There is a link that Sue Linderman had sent, and I don't know if I have the ability to put it in the chat right now, but I will send it to
my
Becca.
email in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I can send it to Becca. Do you know how to contact all these people, or?
Yeah, I can send it out to, I mean, I think Sue sent it out to everyone that was in your coalition.
Do you get emails from Sue Linderman?
I get emails from Sue. I'll check my emails.
I'm not sure she sent it to everyone. I think she just sent it to Westminster, because I didn't get it, and I get most of her emails.
I get invites to this, but I wouldn't be.
I don't know. I'm not gonna call that out on Sue. I'm not exactly sure. I just know.
I'll ask her. I can contact
Yeah,
her.
contact her
her
after.
email went out the 12th. If you can look up in your computer on dates.
Yeah, she probably put it out to our Peace and Justice group. So, but contact Sue if you have srlinder@dca.net. You can let her ask her.
And while I'm on here, I want to tell you guys, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Maria right now, she just went through one of our circles. She's going to be, you going to be there Saturday?
Yes.
Yeah, she's going to be trained as a facilitator, and they're going to do our circles within the Episcopal Church, which is great. You guys hosted us for a White Ally workshop this weekend, which was hugely successful. Yes, Sandy, you were part of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just really, the feedback we got was amazing. We're going to run it again in the spring, but you guys are great partners. You guys supported when we brought Kendi here, when we brought Carol Anderson here. So I just really thank you for the work that you do. And I see the real work being done in the churches. Obviously we're no longer affiliated with any kind of particular religion, but I see the work being done as someone in this space. The churches are our best partners.
And also, Becca, let us know where we could join some of your advocacy, whether it's Legislative Hall, again, that email, that text, and I think writing, calling, but personally going down there.
Yeah.
They do like that, and then follow that with an email. So become buddies with your local legislators. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And to your point there, Maria, I have been meeting with legislators. I think I'm up to 6 now, because what we do is we have our general advocacy, and then what we like to do is find out what they're working on, so that we can, such as, you'll see on criminal justice or racial justice, such as probation reform, right? Because we know Marie Pinckney actually introduced that bill last year, but it didn't go anywhere, so she's reintroducing it, so it'll stay on our advocacy agenda. There's a lot of bills affecting women. There's immigrant health care bill that couldn't get through last year. We're hoping to get it through this. So there's so much out there. I'm just meeting with legislators and asking, what's under my umbrella? What do you got going on? What do you got going? I'm doing that because it's over my head. What do you have in this space? Because if we can help support their initiatives, it makes their job a lot easier.
It's how much stuff they have to look at, and they really look at what's only immediately put in their face by whoever their assistant is. It's amazing. So they'll tell you, oh no, I really I know nothing about that. And
well, some of them might. I mean, some of them are amazing, and they have read every piece of legislation that comes across their desk, and then they might ask their aide to follow up with something. But some are absolutely
know that person. Yeah, I want to know that person.
Well, who's your person now?
I'm gonna mispronounce his name because he has a Greek name. Wait a minute, Spiro.
Oh, you Spiros. Okay.
Spiro's one of them, and Mike Smith.
Okay. Well, that gentleman will have a race coming, I believe, in this year. And I can tell you that the woman who's running against him has been in many of the coalitions that I've been in for the last 5 years. So I already know what she stands for. But again, investigate yourself. And Spiros, make sure you pay attention, because I think there's a bill that we need his support on. It might be the probation bill, actually.
Yeah,
that he's not on board with. So we need people like you.
Really? I need to keep beating on him then. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that works. At our action forum on the 15th, we're actually going to have a legislator speak to tell you what it means when you call and email and text, and they know who you are. I took a half an hour one day and talked to Senator Cloutier, and I switched her vote on something because she didn't read the bill. She didn't understand. She was listening to her Republican colleagues. And I said to her, look, this is the bottom line. This is what this bill is doing. So supporting this bill or going, I don't even remember what it was at this point. So much stuff, but she changed her mind. And if you can have that kind of access and that kind of relationship with the legislator, they're open to it. A lot of them, some of them are not. And, that's the ones that we, I think we talked about, Kendi's quote at the end, he talked about policies. And for my programming, RSJ, we talk about hearts and minds. and policies. So our thoughts are, we try to change as many hearts and minds as possible. And we really want to change those in the decision makers. And if the decision makers don't have the right thoughts and minds, they need to be replaced with individuals that have the right hearts and minds. So it's a twofold. You know, we work on hearts and minds, but we also need to work on the policy, because policy is why we've been here for so long. And I don't really believe in unintended consequences.
And reaching across the other side is not a problem. It's about all of us seeking the best for all Delawareans, right?
Absolutely.
That should be the goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Becca, you mentioned partnerships with churches. So are your partnerships also with synagogues and mosques? I mean, or is it interfaith? I think I'm asking that. Is it?
Yeah, no, you're asking a legitimate question. To be honest, I really need to work on that. That is not something that has been, like, no individuals have sought that, other than I do get invited to the iftar every year, which is great, because the first time I went, I was like, what is going on here? But it's great. They're super welcoming. But and I made a connection there, but I never we didn't really click again, catch up again. So you remind me to get on that, because it does need to be interfaith. So I should say right now, the Christian churches, the left-leaning Christian churches, you know, to be specific, those who see the acts of Jesus and try to follow in those steps are really those.
What do you mean left-leaning?
Those that are supportive of racial and social justice. Like, there's some churches right now that are the opposite of kind of what I believe church is supposed to be about. None that I work with, but evangelical, sometimes those individuals don't believe in racial and social justice. They think things are bootstraps. Everybody just pick yourself up by your bootstraps. We don't have any inequities in our systems. But Delaware churches are doing really good. Any other questions?
Anybody else have something to offer or ask about? It's been a great discussion, and thank you so much for broadening my understanding of what the YWCA is doing out there. I really didn't know about some of that. And I do want to let everybody know before we leave that next Thursday's Peace and Justice will be a Let's Talk About It. Every once in a while we will have that. But this particular one will be about Israel and Gaza and what's going on there. And it will be facilitated by Greg Jones, who has a great deal of insight and knowledge, I think, in many of the problems that exist there and have existed and are certainly coming to a head. So that will be a very meaningful discussion. Yes, Susan.
Cindy, can I mention one more thing relative to that? The link that Greg provided us on our Tuesday message, and it will be in our weekly word this week, WPC.org weekly word. It is an interview with the professor from the University of Delaware who is from Gaza, or is Muslim. It's the interfaith network at Palestinian. Yes, why couldn't I think? And also Greg, and then Rabbi Douglas Krantz, who is the rabbi. And you might want to link. Go to WPC. If everybody here, I think Lucy will get it on her weekly word. But Marie, you and Craig might want to go to our website and then look at our weekly word this week, and it will have that link in there to that interview and the conversation between these three men.
Thank you for that.
In preparation for next week's session.
Good. Thank you, Susan. Thanks for passing that
That's
on.
what helps when we connect, right? Like,
I know, really.
I mean, so many people are doing such great work, and it's like, if we could just know about what everybody's doing, although it's hard, and we can partner when we can, right? So I'm going to go look for that.
Well, many thanks, Becca, for presenting tonight, and thanks to all of you for being here. And we'll hope to see you next week, and maybe we'll all watch the presentation Susan highlighted too.
Thank
Thanks
you
a
for
lot,
all
everyone.
you do. Thank you.
Oh, thank
you,
you.
Becca.
You
Good
all.
night.
Good night, guys.